So without fail, every single year I put together the list of the highest rated matches of the previous 12 months, as per Survival Series contestant Dave Meltzer. Have an amazing time doing it, then post the video, go home for Christmas, and see that another 5-star match is taking place at the very end of December. The nerve of these wrestlers, man. How dare they keep working at a high level between Christmas and New Year's? Don't they know that's when you're supposed to clock in from home and glance at your laptop twice before clocking out like the rest of us? So for the sake of giving them their flowers, shout out to Kento Miyahara and Katsuhiko Nakajima for balling out on New Year's Eve last year. They sure earned their champagne. Now without further ado, I'm Tempest hailing from partsFUNknown, and this is my favorite list of the year. This is every match rated 5 stars or higher in 2024.
Yes, that's right. Yes, nearly there. Oh, yes. Now I'm feeling it. Yes, now it's nearly there. Come on. Oh, it's nearly there. Wait, what? No, no. Ah, God damn it. I hate this hacker crap.
Luke, what are you doing in here?
Are
you trying to steal the company's data again?
Maybe.
Well, you know the data's all protected, right?
What? How?
By using Surfshark.
Surfshark?
Yes, Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN that will protect your IP address, stop cybercriminals like Luke here, and allows you to watch content from all over the world. Go to surfshark.com/jamthatjam for 4 extra months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. Grab this festive offer now by following the link in the description.
Wow, that's great, Tempest. Can you let me know the password to the back end?
Oh yeah, of course. It's CM Punk did nothing wrong 69420. No spaces.
Yeah. Ollie did make this, didn't he?
What gives you that impression?
Kazuchika Okada vs. Bryan Danielson, Wrestle Kingdom 18, 5.25 stars. 'Tis an annual tradition to begin the year with a fiver from the Observer on January 4th. New Japan holding its climactic Wrestle Kingdom event on the same day every year sure makes planning that easy. I actually don't think Okada and Danielson have great natural chemistry in general, but on a stage like Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome, things just seem to find a way of reaching classic status. Also, points to this match for having one of the most galaxy brain entrances in wrestling history, where Okada emerged in a white and gold robe, then stopped his entrance to be scanned with a UV light to reveal the robe actually had hidden invisible colors. Very wacky, but hey, if the robe came out black and blue, you'd have a possible answer to that stupid dress meme that divided society a few years back. Mascara Dorada vs. Templario, CMLL, January 5th. 5 stars. And now for something completely different. While the unwashed masses bicker with one another about crowd sizes, CMLL has been the home of consistent hot crowds for a very long time. And one of those crowds in Arena Mexico was treated to the best straight-up Lucha Libre match of the year on January 5th. Let me tell you, some of the best high-flying I have ever seen has come from this match. Whether it be the picture-perfect tornado for Mascara Dorada, one of the coolest Sasuke specials ever from the ramp into the ring, or the myriad of excellent counters on display, this is the very best example of high-level Lucha Libre in 2024. Not sure why Templario's tiny furry friend was allowed to hit a splash in the third fall, but with a match this good, I think I can allow it. Jon Moxley vs. Shingo Takagi, New Japan Pro Wrestling Battle in the Valley, 5 stars. With the recent departures of Kazuchika Okada and Will Ospreay from New Japan, I feel no uncertainty in saying Shingo Takagi is their best wrestler. And that being said, this is Shingo's best match of the year. I wrote that before he had his actual best match of the year. F it, I stand by it. Jon Moxley has become too big of a star to compete in the never open weight division, the bell end, and it's a shame because he would fit in with the likes of Ishii, Suzuki, Takagi, and Hinare better than anywhere else on the New Japan totem pole, which means when we do get to see one of those matchups, it is a true violent treat. With a mix of blood and mist in their eyes, Moxley fought through a war to earn a massive notch in his belt on his journey to the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. A brilliant battle in the Valley it was. Kazuchika Okada vs. Will Ospreay, New Japan Pro Wrestling Battle in the Valley, 5 stars. It was an emotional battle in the Valley as we all witnessed the final meeting of Kazuchika Okada and Will Ospreay. Or so we thought at the time. Yeah, this match had a bit more finality to it before Okada revealed that he'd also be following the Billy Goat out the door in a month's time, but while this match may not have retained its importance, the ovation from the crowd and the action bell to bell shall always remain the same. Will Ospreay versus Josh Alexander, TNA Impact, January 18th, 5.5 stars. Will Ospreay, growing up a big TNA fan, has been very apparent in the past, particularly in his 2019 match with Amazing Red, but Will finally getting to wrestle a match with the classic TNA logo on the mat added a level of significance to what is probably the greatest match to ever take place in a TNA ring. But you know what? Will is going to get plenty of love on this list. Let me just give some well-earned flowers to Mr. Josh Alexander. He is so excellent in this match. You could talk about everything from the devastating backbreakers to rallying after an incredible Liger bomb through a table, but when Big Josh hits a Styles Clash to set up the C4, it feels like the biggest possible statement that this guy is Mr. TNA for this generation, a title that has been thoroughly earned. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson, New Japan Pro Wrestling New Beginning in Osaka, 5.5 stars. Just when you thought that Zack Sabre Jr. and Bryan Danielson couldn't have had a better match at WrestleDream, they have this match. I'm not going to say that the Seattle crowd wasn't excellent, but a New Japan home crowd in Osaka is simply the perfect environment for this match. I especially want to put over the commentary of Chris Charlton and Walker Stewart, who I believe to be the best commentary duo in wrestling today, and their deconstruction of Zack and Bryan's approaches to technical wrestling, with Bryan approaching it scientifically and Zack seeing it as free-flowing like jazz music. Not only did it add extra layers of incredible insight to an incredible match, but it accentuated the artistry of technical wrestling perfectly. I bow to you both. And also to Zack and Bryan, they're both pretty good too. Will Ospreay versus Michael Oku, Rev Pro High Stakes, 6 stars. I have been blessed to see a lot of fantastic singles matches live in person during my time. Gargano Andrade, Ospreay Sabre, Goldberg Lesnar, so when I tell you that this is the greatest singles match I have ever seen live, just know that I do not say that lightly. I may be an import here in the UK, but even I can feel what Will Ospreay means to this place. The best in the world is a Brit, and that is significant. So when he has his send-off match in front of a raucous crowd with the sole intention of making his successor and friend of the channel, Michael Oku, the biggest star possible, you have the recipe for one of the best matches of the whole year. From tributes to the great Mad Kurt, to Ospreay accidentally wiping out Amira before nailing the Tiger Driver, Hidden Blade, and Stormbreaker for the near fall of the year, to Oku finally submitting Will to secure his place atop British wrestling, you will not find better in 2024. Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita, AEW Revolution, 5.75 stars. But that doesn't mean Will Ospreay was done trying. On a show with the emotional final match of Sting and the next chapter in the rivalry of Hangman and Swerve, Will Ospreay's proper arrival in AEW just needed to deliver a great match. Needless to say, this surpassed those very basic expectations. Hell, if you told Ospreay to have the worst match of his career, he'd probably have a 5-star match by accident. It also helps that you could not have picked a better first opponent for Will, even if Takeshita was the one to drop Will back first on the top rope in a quote-unquote friendly exhibition. Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher, AEW Dynamite, March 6th, 5 stars. Not even Will hitting a dab in 2024 could ruin his first singles match on Dynamite. Little did we know at the time that this would be the preview of one of the most heated emotional rivalries of the year, but looking back on it, this was a perfect appetizer of what we would get at Full Gear. Here, this was friendly competition, but they still told the story of Will and Kyle knowing every move the other was going to do before they did it. In many ways, that would perfectly sow the seeds for what was to come, with Kyle needing to differentiate himself from everything Ospreay is, and it's these details that make this match even better on rewatch now. Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson, AEW Dynasty, 6.5 stars. So this was a bit of alright, innit? Good little match, just another day at the office for the lads? Okay, but no, for real, this was about as close to a religious experience as I've ever had watching wrestling. The GOAT and the Billy Goat putting on an Alice Cooper-esque performance because they had this crowd chanting, "We're not worthy," when they stood opposite each other like two gunslingers waiting to see who was quickest on the draw. Time stood still, and then we all saw the true passing of the torch from one best in the world to the next, because the fastest gun in the West now belongs to Billiam Ospreay. This is the second highest rated match of all time, and I cannot say for 1 second that it doesn't deserve it. AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes, WWE Backlash, 5 stars. To this day, if you listen closely, you can still hear the French fans chanting. When Cody won the WWE title, I had to rewrite the code in my brain to expect and look forward to monthly title defenses of WWE's top prize. It had been a while, alright, but when Cody Rhodes defended his newly won belt for the first time in a phenomenal la match with AJ Styles at Backlash, a feeling of security washed over me. We could look forward to the chant being on TV every week again. It was over. We would be okay. You couldn't ask for a much better match and environment for your new babyface champion, even if AJ got beat with only 1 crossroads. Silly AJ, didn't you know that's only a third of Cody's finisher? There were 2 more to go. Tomohiro Ishii versus Masa Kitamiya, Pro Wrestling Noah One Night Dream 2, 5 stars. The best possible opponents for Tomohiro Ishii are people who are completely unprepared to wrestle Tomohiro Ishii and people who match his freak. 2 opposite ends of the Ishii spectrum of excellence. Masa Kitamiya was very clearly at the latter end. I mean, he basically is Ishii with a mohawk. That might be a bit reductive, but the perfect mirroring of styles made for Ishii's best match of the year. Just 2 thick boys clotheslining and headbutting the piss out of each other until one could not get up. I've loved every match on this list, but this match did a lot for me because of the variety. And speaking of, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Hechicero CMLL Sábados de Coliseo, 5 stars. The emergence of Hechicero as a global superstar has been one of the great highlights of 2024 if you are a fan of technical wrestling. Thankfully, the result of that has been getting matches like this, a 2 out of 3 falls match, as is custom in Mexico, between 2 of the most masterful technicians in the world. I feel very fortunate to have seen the rematch in Rev Pro, but even with that personal bias, this one's better. A smaller, more intimate crowd of fans losing their minds for technical wizardry. Ooh, it just makes for such an incredible atmosphere, and 2 masters of the mat handled the rest, taking the sometimes less flashy style of grappling and churning out one of the most exciting matches of the year. Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland, AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door, 5.5 stars. Of the many Will Ospreay matches on this list, this one, I believe, accomplished the most. To this point, Swerve Strickland's reign as AEW World Champion had been solid. It had been good. But in this match of the year contender, Swerve felt more like the undisputed top guy of AEW than he had in any other match of 2024 to this point. Solidly and definitively defeating Will Ospreay, who many people thought was guaranteed to be the next world champion, in a brilliant match that still left plenty of room for Will to grow as well. The next time Will challenges for the world title, he'll be able to say that he only lost last time because of his conflict with Don Callis. This match ticks all the boxes, and it is one of the very best of the year. Will Ospreay versus MJF, AEW Dynamite July 17th, 5 3/4 stars. This match goes down 0.00001% in my estimation, because until the end of time, we will not be able to just say, for the sake of convenience, that this was an hour match, without a bell end in the comments saying, actually. But man, I can't be mad at this match. It deserves to be on the short list of the best TV wrestling matches of all time. This match seamlessly transitions from what first appears to be a great TV title match, paced very well, and could have peaked after 20 minutes with Ospreay selling his knee, to a 45-minute epic with Will's shoulder becoming the focus and peaking with MJF's elbow through the table, to an oh my god, they're going Broadway final stretch, ending with MJF winning the title with 1 second left. MJF may be known for his mouth more than anything, but in situations like this, you can really see that it is in his wrestling that he truly shines the brightest. Konosuke Takeshita versus El Phantasmo, New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax 34 Day 12. 5 stars. Sometimes I long for the days where half of this list would just be G1 Climax matches, but these days, I guess that longing just makes a match like this all the more special. Konosuke Takeshita has probably been earmarked for success in AEW since his tweets about Cinnabon, but after years of us waiting, his run in the 2024 G1 Climax made putting it off any longer impossible. You know a match is good when you get a lunchtime audience in the WrestleTalk office. ELP has become a bit of a lovable underdog on New Japan's roster, and in the G1, the chances of seeing an upset drastic go up, which always helps to make the matches more dramatic and the fans more invested. Will Ospreay vs. MJF, AEW All In, 5 stars. As a longtime fan of Ring of Honor and old Japanese promotions, I have seen a lot of streamers in my time watching wrestling. Hell, I've thrown some myself. But with that being said, I have never seen streamers go into business for themselves like I did in this match. Maybe Speed at WrestleMania. Anyway, Will and MJF completed their duology in classic fashion in front of AEW's largest crowd of the year, and I am very glad to have been in attendance for it. This match does a great job of tying up all the threads and acknowledging all the best bits of this relatively short feud, whether it be MJF barking at Will that anyone can do flips, or the return of Daniel Garcia, or Will finally finding someone horrible enough to warrant the use of the Tiger Driver, with all the streamers blowing in the evening breeze. Bryan Danielson vs. Swerve Strickland, AEW All In, 5.25 stars. I wasn't at WrestleMania 30. I have never seen a WrestleMania main event live in person, but as I walked out of Wembley Stadium after this match, there was a little bit of magic in the air, with friends and strangers alike saying this must have been what it felt like to watch the Miracle on Bourbon Street. Bryan Danielson fighting from his knees, covered in blood, telling his wife and children he loves them with each strike is maybe the greatest 10 seconds of wrestling I've ever seen in my life. Bryan Danielson may not have had an AEW World Championship reign for the ages, but he did win it in a match for the ages, defeating a Swerve Strickland who had leveled himself up to become the final boss of AEW, giving the people in attendance a memory we shall never, ever forget. Will Ospreay vs. Pac, AEW All Out, 5.5 stars. This may be the greatest match to ever have been completely forgotten by Luke Owen. I tried to ask him if there was a better one, but classically, he couldn't remember what he'd forgotten. It doesn't matter if this match happens in York Hall in London or Now Arena in Chicago, Will Ospreay and Pac are a match made in wrestling heaven. They seem more similar on paper than they are. Both are impeccable British wrestlers who have revolutionized the style of high flying, but Will relies more on calculated risks and high impact moves, while Pac's style revolves around dynamic, explosive offense and a grittier and more brutal approach. All of this to say that when slotted together, they make for a perfect match and one that I'm going to force Luke to rewatch. CM Punk vs. Drew McIntyre, WWE Bad Blood, 5 stars. This match was a brutal, bloody, and completely necessary resurrection of a once bastardized stipulation. Through perfect circumstances and the full effort of everyone involved, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre provided us with the best Hell in a Cell match in decades and by far the WWE match of the year. CM Punk may have his flaws, but at his core, he knows exactly how old school grudge match blow-off should be built and executed. Not only that, but Drew McIntyre is the kind of badass that you legitimately would never want to be locked in a cage with, which completes the formula for an all-time great Hell in a Cell match. The formula that so many people failed to crack for years and years and years. Will Ospreay vs. Ricochet vs. Konosuke Takeshita, AEW Wrestle Dream, 5.5 stars. While the first thing to come to mind regarding this match may be the heartbreaking betrayal at the very end, everything leading up to that moment should be regarded as possibly the greatest three-way in wrestling history. It's the highest rated for what it's worth. Is it better than the TNA Unbreakable Triple Threat? I'll let you all decide in what I'm sure will be a very civil discussion in the comments. But seriously though, the entire sequence of three men throwing each other around, culminating in Takeshita initiating the best double German suplex since WrestleMania 22, should get 5 stars all on its own. Konosuke Takeshita vs. Speedball Mike Bailey, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling Forged in Excellence Night 1, 5 stars. I love the AEW International title the most when it feels like the roaming champion title being defended in countries and promotions all over the world. In saying that, this is the best match ever contested under that very arbitrary qualifier. Speedball has been one of the industry's best for a long time, and he's a pretty great wrestler too. Oh, I'm sorry, did you think I was talking about his wrestling? Well, surprise, I was talking about his mullet, that gorgeous flowing mullet. Takeshita launched his title reign and Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling with a classic, and I applaud him for it. Also, I didn't know just how badly I needed to hear Mauro Ranallo's voice calling pro wrestling in 2024. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shingo Takagi, New Japan Pro Wrestling Power Struggle, 5.25 stars. Zack began his year beating a dragon in a 5-star match, and he ended his year beating a dragon in a 5-star match. Closing out New Japan Pro Wrestling's involvement on this list is the main event of their final major show of the year, Power Struggle, aka the last chance for anyone to dethrone the world champion to secure their spot in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. So there's even more on the line than your typical excellent New Japan main event. With such high stakes came a match of equal magnitude and heartbreak, because if your soul didn't cry out while watching Shingo try and crawl to make the cover after the last of the dragon to finally prove himself that he was a worthy world champion, only to just come up short again, then I simply don't consider you human. Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher, AEW Full Gear, 5.25 stars. Just 10 minutes ago, I said that Will Ospreay versus Swerve was the 5-star match that accomplished the most this year. Well, now I may have to go back on that because Kyle Fletcher's star-making performance was every bit as elevating as the Swerve match. Will Ospreay gets a lot of flack for being a good wrestler. How dare he? With people most cranky about Ospreay's acrobatic style, but this match was not great because of the great moves both men managed to perform. It was great because AEW crafted a story between two great characters, and then they wrestled an incredible match built on intense drama that made a new top star, and that is pro wrestling to a T. And finally, Will Ospreay versus TBA, AEW World's End, 5 and some extra number of stars, I'm sure. At the time that this list has gone out, World's End was last night, and judging by the sheer probability of it all, Will Ospreay probably had another 5-star match. Hell, he's gone 7 for 8 on AEW pay-per-views this year, which I guess means his match with Roddy Strong at Double or Nothing was Ospreay's version of a dud, being only 4.75 stars. But while I don't know how the C2 has gone at the time I'm writing this, I'm gonna make the safe bet that dear old Will churned out one last 5-er for the year. That should cover my bases this time, right? Right! Thank you for watching this list and all the ones we've done this year on partsFUNknown. Make sure, of course, that you're subscribed to the channel so you never miss another one just like it. And make sure you check out the most recent edition of Worst Match Ever. It is my favorite show to make right now, so make sure you watch it. It's got the barbed wire Christmas tree match.
What would that even be used for as a tool? Who's this guy?
James Mitchell, it's the Sinister Minister. He would do the best promos in TNA.
So, how good is that in the real